It's no accident you found yourself here. You were chosen for this video. Every chosen one has special powers, but some of those powers lean into the dark side. For example, when you walk into a room, everyone looks your way. They're not just drawn to your obvious brightness. They can sense the dark power within you too. They may not say it out loud, but they feel it, and they're afraid of it. You have this unshakable drive to protect your goals, no matter what. And you can see right through people's masks. You're a mix of opposites. The world might be attracted to the light you give off, but you also need to acknowledge and respect the darkness inside you. That darkness, forged in tough times, isn't a weakness. It's a weapon. It's your shield against anyone who tries to take down your divine mission. You've always had a knack for cutting through the BS, seeing past the smoke and mirrors, and exposing the stuff most people are too scared to face. It's like you're the lighthouse in a world that thrives on lies and deception, and you've learned how to use that darker side of yourself as a tool. Those moments when you have brutal, no-nonsense clarity and rock-solid boundaries aren't flaws. They're key parts of your spiritual armor. Think of it like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Your darker qualities are the fire that burns away the junk. They're your sword and shield in a world that constantly tries to dim your light or derail your purpose. They help you see through those who try to use you, control you, or undervalue what you bring to the table. You don't shy away from those who avoid conflict. You go straight at it, unafraid to call out the cowardice, betrayal, and hypocrisy that lurks around you. The darkness inside you isn't just for your own battles. It sparks change in others too. It's the force that pushes you to dive deep into the toughest parts of your mind. Face whatever demons are hiding, and come out stronger on the other side. Instead of breaking you down, these struggles actually build you up, making your spirit tougher and more determined to chase your goals. When you turn that darkness outward, it becomes a mirror for others. It forces them to confront their own shadows and fears, making them face the truths they've been avoiding for way too long. You turn into the force that propels their metamorphosis, an essential disturbance that shatter their delusions and force them to change. You provide as a living example of the fact that both life and darkness are essential and holy in a society where these qualities are sometimes confused for one another. Your darkness shields, but your light leads. Although your darkness upholds justice, your light heals. Your darkness demands respect, yet your light inspires. You would be incomplete and only a shadow of the strong person you really are without this equilibrium. Accept and celebrate your inner duality, for it is this duality that gives you the strength, resilience, and essential nature you possess in a world that sorely needs both of your bright and dark sides. Cosmic justice becomes a quick and unrelenting force because to your unmatched capacity to accelerate karma. The universe reacts to someone who dares to wrong you with unimaginable speed and intensity. It doesn't just reset the equilibrium. Someone in your network may unintentionally start a chain reaction that spirals out of control if they try to betray you for their personal gain out of greed or jealousy. They may first have a small moment of victory, believing they have defeated you. But as the days go on, the fallout from their deeds starts to show. With the accuracy and speed of a furious storm, they lose a significant business contract, a chance they believed was theirs vanishes, and their once strong social network starts to fall apart as gossip and the truth about their betrayal creep into discussions. Pals turn away from one another, detecting the stench of betrayal, and they end up alone, staring at the rubble of everything they once held dear. If you've made it this far, this video resonates with you. Stick around until the end, and you'll unlock even more of your hidden powers. Their personal lives are affected as well. Once unbreakable relationships start to fall apart. Their betrayal of you has turned into a destructive boomerang that is tearing apart every aspect of their lives. Their health deteriorates, they develop a number of inexplicable illnesses, they become stressed out, and sleep becomes an expensive luxury as they are plagued by nightmares of their wrongdoings every night. Their hitherto solid finances have abruptly collapsed. Unforeseen costs and losses have depleted their funds, leaving them struggling to make ends meet. They can't shake the sensation that everything bad that happens to them is a direct result of what they did to you. It's as though the entire universe is working against them. Ultimately, they are forced to face the harsh truth that they made a grave mistake by crossing you. They must now negotiate the ruins of their own creation after the cosmic scales were destroyed, rather than being balanced. You stand unharmed, a monument to the heavenly protection around you and the indisputable fact that you are beyond their comprehension, while they try to pick up the pieces. Your resistance to energy vampires is so strong that it not only keeps the vampire at bay, but also reverses the drain, rendering them weak and drained. Someone who attempts to drain your energy in the hopes of feeding off your brightness and life force is confronted by an energy that is beyond their comprehension. Your energy is a fortress, impenetrable and strengthened by the very darkness they attempted to exploit, not a well they can draw from. Their attempts to undermine you backfired, depleting their own strength and making them more exposed than before. If someone in your life who is good at manipulation chooses to play the same old game with you, spinning a web of lies and staging a scene to trap you, thinking that your light will satisfy their ravenous appetite with ease, they will meet with something unexpected, a complete 180-degree turn in power. They start to feel drained by your energy instead of being energized by it. Their once steady confidence begins to waver, replaced by a gruesome exhaustion that penetrates into their very being. When confusion creeps in, their once sharp and cutting remarks lose their impact. They get more lost the more they attempt to absorb your energy. They seem to be losing the very life force they were trying to siphon off, leaving them hollow and lifeless, only a shell of the force they once were. As the interaction goes on, their mask starts to come off, and their carefully crafted identity falls apart due to their own lying. Their cunning appeal melts into desperation as they begin to stammer. You maintain your composure, unmoved, and unwavering vigor. Your inner darkness serves as a mirror, reflecting back to them the emptiness they have been trying to conceal. They are eventually forced to retreat, exhausted and defeated, since they are unable to maintain the act any longer. They struggle with the fallout from their deeds in the aftermath. Their attempt to take advantage of you has failed miserably, making them weaker than before. They discover that they are worn out and that their regular sources of energy are insufficient. They are troubled by the experience and can't get rid of the feeling that they've interacted with something that is far more than they can comprehend. So sleep is not a relief. You, on the other hand, stand firm. Your energy not only intact, but even stronger, a monument to the power, both dark and light, that is within you. An unstoppable force that none can understand or overcome. You have an amazing ability to serve as a mirror, reflecting the unspoken pain and unsolved problems of others around you. When someone tries to undermine or question you, They face more than just your defensive strategies. They face the enlarged and exposed version of their own inner demons. When someone dares to cross you, you become a catalyst for self-reckoning, making them face the very darkness they've long since hidden. It's not that you call attention to their shortcomings, it's that they see them in you and can no longer ignore them. Something unexpected occurs when someone in your life, full of jealousy and hatred, chooses to approach you in the hopes of undermining your self-assurance. With a few well-chosen remarks, you maintain your composure in the face of their onslaught, your unwavering gaze penetrating through. The very evil they directed on you starts to come back to haunt them. But this time, it's not as an outside force, but rather a reflection of their own fears and insecurities. When they realize that their own resentment is reflecting back at them, their voice falters. The rage they attempt to project onto you becomes internal, exposing the ingrained shortcomings they have been covering up. As the situation changes, they begin to stammer and lose confidence. They may sense that it's about them now and not about you. Their own unsolved problems seem to be bubbling to the surface as the walls of the room begin to shut in on them. They see the sharp contrast between your composed manner and the turmoil inside of them, and it's too much for them to bear. They make an effort to backtrack in an attempt to divert attention, but it's too late. The darkness they carry within has come to light and is brutally obvious to everyone. Now, all of their hurtful words and attempts to discredit you are reflected back to them, magnifying their own shortcomings and anxieties. They were completely unprepared for the terrible self-confrontation that resulted from the confrontation they attempted to control. They are forced to confront an unavoidable truth as they withdraw, shook and confused. Their attempt to make you less than they are has just made them more like you. They turn away from you, but also from the reflection of their own darkness that you so skillfully gave them. As a mirror to the shadows they attempted to conceal, you stand firm and are unaffected by their attack, forcing them to face the unavoidable truth that the conflict they attempted to fight against you was really a conflict with themselves. Your exceptional ability to reveal deceit renders those who lie helpless in your presence. You don't just detect dishonesty, you meticulously tear it apart, removing the veneer of lies until the unadulterated reality is revealed. When someone tries to spin a false narrative around you, they are caught in their own web and are powerless to break free from the unrelenting force of your wisdom. Deception is impossible in your presence alone, as though the truth itself must follow in your wake. A dishonest party tries to sway the outcome of a high-stakes negotiation to their advantage. They have a silver tongue and skillfully compose their lies because they think they can steer the conversation and make things go their way. But you don't back down when they try to control the conversation. In fact, your intense stare at them makes them less confident. With a question that cuts through the language like a blade, you pose a straightforward query. Their well-laid facade begins to crumble, and they hesitate, taken aback. Every statement you make acts like a chisel, chipping away at the lies they have attempted to pass off as fact. Everyone in the room perceives the change in power, and tension builds. The more they try to fool you, the more entangled in their own lies they get, stumbling over logical fallacies and contradictions that you can spot with ease. It's as if the truth is forced to emerge by your presence, evident to everyone like oil rising through water. As they become aware that they are losing control and that the story is escaping them, their voice wavers. They attempt to retreat in an attempt to hide their tracks, but it's too late. You and everyone else have already detected their deceit. They become exposed, helpless, and defeated as the power they believed they possessed crumbles in their grasp. The manipulator, who was formerly self-assured, is now in front of you, bereft of all deceit and unable to conceal their lies. When the facts become indisputable, the negotiation completely turns to your advantage. The dishonest party is forced to admit their plans are a complete failure since they are now surrounded and desperate. They are humiliated by how easily you expose their deceit and left to deal with the fallout from their own dishonesty. But you remain unwavering, having proven once more that the truth is an invincible force in your presence and that any attempt at deception is doomed to fail. Your natural capacity for manipulation and unconscious influence allows you to gently sculpt the world around you, revealing actual intents and veiling ulterior motives. A place has a different atmosphere when you walk in, as though the air itself is heavier with whispered truths. It's not something you do on purpose. Rather, the very fact that you exist causes people to remove their masks and reveal what's behind. Your energy draws out the tension that lurks beneath the surface, and the delusions people cling to in order to survive start to disintegrate in the face of your unwavering aura. The ambience of an apparently routine social event transforms the moment you walk in, even though everyone is smiling and speaking politely. People who keep unspoken wishes or grudges hidden experience an uncomfortable heat that feels like it's pulling their thoughts out into the open. Once informal and light-hearted, conversations become more pointed. When you strike up a conversation with someone who has been harboring resentment, their carefully constructed facade starts to crumble. Their hands tremble, their voices tighten, and though they try not to show it, the underlying tension explodes like a volcano that has lain dormant for far too long. What started out as a straightforward conversation turns into a conflict nobody saw coming. The room, once filled with the surface warmth of social pleasantries, becomes a battleground of truth and raw emotion as old wounds are resurrected and long-buried grievances are addressed. Individuals who have refrained from engaging in these discussions for years suddenly find themselves sucked into the conflict, powerless to ignore the truth that your presence has brought to light. As the realities are thrown like daggers, each one more painful and cutting than the previous, the gathering descends into anarchy. You stay composed, unaffected by the chaos encircling you. You brought your energy into an environment where there were many ulterior motives, but this disarray was not your doing. The devastation of their formerly orderly lives, now exposed for everyone to see, falls on those around you to handle. Though they may hold you accountable for the conflict's abrupt escalation, they secretly understand that it has always been boiling beneath the surface, waiting for someone like you to bring it to light. You stand, a silent force that has once again upended the current quo and exposed the truth as the dust falls and the sound of the confrontation fades. Your power is found not just in what you do, but also in what you naturally expose, whether or not people were prepared for it. The reality you so casually bring forth destroy the illusions of those who encounter you, leaving them forever transformed. You have a merciless capacity to break bad relationships quickly and decisively, leaving people in shock. It's as like a guillotine has fallen between you and the person when you decide they have no more place in your life. The line in the sand is cold and harsh. There is no warning, no gradual fading away. You can see through the deceptive behavior and subtle betrayals, and as soon as you decide they've gone too far, you terminate things totally and permanently. They are forced to confront the gap you have left behind. which they are unable to comprehend or attempt to fill. You've put up with their continual undercurrent of jealousy, cloaked as friendship, their unfaithful acts covered up as concern, and their passive-aggressive statements. But there comes a point at which you realize you've had enough. Maybe it's the last straw. Maybe it's just the clarity of the morning light. You abruptly ended their conversation without giving them a chance to explain or even pause. When they awaken, they discover that they have been blocked, removed, and completely eliminated from your life. They try to make sense of what has happened, but their calls and texts are not returned. They are bewildered and desperate. It feels like they've been exiled, ejected from your world with a degree of closure they never expected. It has disastrous effects. They relive all of their exchanges and conversations in an attempt to identify their mistakes. However, you've given them nothing to cling to. They are left in the ruins of their own behavior after the abrupt and violent disappearance of the life they believed they lived with you. They can no longer ignore the small betrayals that were inconsequential at the time. The weight of their own decisions is crushing them as they come to terms with the totality of what they have lost. They were empty, a shell of the people they believed themselves to be when they were in your orbit, because they had been used to your presence, your light, your vitality. Their system is shocked by your abrupt departure, which is a surgical strike that removes the rot with such accuracy that there is no chance for recovery. They are now left to deal with the hole you've left behind, standing in the remains of a relationship they never truly understood. But you have gone on, free and unaffected by the bonds you broke. You are now free of the poison that used to be a part of your life because you made the ultimate and necessary decision to break things up with them. You turn away and leave them to face the terrible realization that they will suffer unimaginable repercussions for crossing you. Not only is your ability to break free a defensive tactic, but it also proves your strength and sends a message to those who would weaken you that you will not be intimidated. Your remarkable talent for bringing to light the weaknesses and concerns that others fervently attempt to conceal lights the shadows these anxieties occupy and draws them into the open with an irresistible force. It's not anything you want to do. Rather, it's the inevitable result of your energy removing people's masks. People close to you have an abrupt and excruciating realization of their own shortcomings, as though a mirror has been held up to their soul, reflecting back the realities they have been avoiding. As a result, they are frequently left reeling and helpless against the brutal reality you've unintentionally exposed. Someone tries to talk to you during what was supposed to be a straightforward, informal exchange, maybe with a hint of arrogance or a confident front. They try not to become too serious, but as the conversation goes on, they can feel something changing. Their carefully made thinking mask starts to come apart as their words stumble. You say something that might not seem like much to other people, but to them, it gets right to the core of a long-buried fear. The tension in the air rises as they realize you've accidentally brought up a subject they've tried very hard to keep hidden. The person's manner abruptly changes, and they become defensive. What started out as a light-hearted conversation becomes a vulnerable and heated moment. They stutter, attempting to take back control of the circumstance, but it's too late. Their susceptibility is obvious and blatant. Their carefully cultivated calm breaks down, and they feel vulnerable, as though they are in front of you and everyone else in the room. They now have to deal with the ugliness of their own insecurities as their facade of security has crumbled. They are unable to forget the experience in the days that follow. Even though your remarks were harmless to you, they reverberate in their minds, compelling them to engage in a time of profound introspection. They keep going back to the conversation, analyzing every word, look, and second in an attempt to figure out how you were able to see right through them. They understand that trying to cover up their fears has just made them more noticeable to an astute observer like you. They are forced to face the aspects of themselves they have long ignored, which makes the encounter both disturbing and transformative. Conversely, you walk on, maybe not even realizing the huge influence you've had. Your capacity to identify weaknesses is a reflection of your ability to see past the delusions that other people put on you, rather than being a weapon. Whether they are ready or not, it's a force that forces everyone in your vicinity to confront their reality, changing them irrevocably in the process. Others find the force of your unique ability to incite unwelcome change to be both disturbing and irresistible. You have the ability to be a force for change, setting things in motion that make others around you face hard realities they've been avoiding for a long time. It's not something you actively pursue or force on people. Rather, it's a transformation that happens when you walk into other people's lives. They cannot avoid the change you bring, even though they may not want it. Talking with someone who has become complacent in life, you disrupt the foundations of their carefully created reality and expose the fractures they've tried to hide. This happens in the middle of what appears to be an average conversation. They've established habits, made decisions based more on expediency than on enthusiasm, and created a comfortable but unfulfilling life. Your words, laced with a truth they've evaded, start to burn slowly into their mind as you speak. They reject your insights at first, calling them unimportant or unnecessary, but something starts to stir within of them. After a few days, they still can't seem to get rid of the ideas you gave them. What started out as a light-hearted discussion now plagues them during their alone times as they begin to doubt everything they've taken for granted. Their formerly secure existence appears to be on the verge of collapsing, like to a house of cards. They make an effort to quell the mounting anxiety, but it's too late. The shift you've instigated has already begun. A power they are unable to comprehend or manage. When the familiar starts to disintegrate under their feet, their first reaction is resistance. They cling to their old ways in a desperate attempt to hold on. They may react angrily, accusing you of causing the chaos that has rocked their formerly stable life. But in reality, all you have done is reveal what was already there: the unhappiness, the need for something more, and the fear of confronting their actual needs. Their current way of life starts to feel like a prison, and despite their resistance, they find themselves driven toward the change they have been avoiding for far too long. The change becomes inevitable as the weeks pass. Their years-long facade crumbles as the fissures deepen, exposing their raw and exposed selves. They are compelled to face the decisions they have made, the existence they have chosen, and the opportunities they have passed up. It's a torturous process that demolishes their illusions and compels them to start over. However, they realize deep down that this shift, despite their distaste for it, is essential. It marks the start of a new chapter that would not have been possible without the impetus you offered. But you keep walking down your road, maybe not even realizing how much of an impact you've had. Unwanted change is not a burden. Rather, it is evidence of the power you possess, a persistent force that forces people to change whether or not they are ready to. The truth you so casually bring to light irreparably transforms the lives of those who come into contact with you. You walk the earth as a force of nature deserving of reverence and awe, not just as a lighthouse. Few people fully understand the depth and intensity of your dark side, the side that unveils, exposes, and transforms, despite the fact that many may perceive your light. You shouldn't hide this dark side. It's an essential component of who you are, the precise thing that inspires both dread and reverence in others. Whether or not others are prepared for the truth, you are the one who brings it to light. You are the calm before the storm. Realizing your shadow side entails realizing that your impact goes beyond your physical presence. You have the power to alter the atmosphere in whatever space you walk into. Upend the cozy self-lies people tell themselves and make them confront the reality. Because of your power, you inspire and initiate change in people, leaving a lasting impression on those who come into contact with you. It's time for you to fully embrace this power now. Tell them about your experiences, how your presence changed their lives, and how your darkness has been just as much of a gift as your brightness. Your experiences provide witness to the transforming power you possess and are not merely personal. If you feel the energy and know you're one of the chosen, it's time to take the next step. Hit that join button and align yourself with a community of like-minded souls. By joining, you're not just supporting the mission, you're unlocking deeper spiritual insights, guidance, and divine connection. Step into your higher purpose and elevate your spiritual journey today. The universe has brought you here for a reason. Don't miss this opportunity.